Dance Talk Wellness, a podcast where we discuss all nuances concerning education and dance, because a dance experience is an experience worth talking about. I'm your host, Truly B, and today I am talking with some real-life dance moms. So even though the term dance moms is usually used in reference to mothers who have children who dance, for some of us, we are actual dance professionals who are also trying to simultaneously navigate this thing called parenthood. Today, I am joined by my awesome guests, Mrs. Marcina Vaughn, Sandra Atkinson, Jen Alexander, and Pasha Barnwell. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Before we jump into all of the things, our quote for today is from C.S. Lewis, one of my favorite authors. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Yes, life lessons. Y'all know me. I be about this business. All right, so guys, I know, let's jump right into these questions. Fix your faces, it's fine, it's okay. All right, so I'm just gonna have you go one by one, and these are the 3 things I want you to answer. I know I'll be doing that a lot. I like the number 3. So, how many kids do you have? How long have you been a dance educator? And how does being a dance mom impact your parenting and your instruction? So the first 2 are easy, so don't be looking like that.
That we're moms, right? So the questions already have escaped my brain. Number 1, the mommy brain is already there. Yeah. I need some notes. Okay, number 1.
How many kids y'all got? How long have you been a dance educator? And then how has being a dance mom impacted your instruction and your parenting? So, just out of sheer being a jerk, Marcina, we're starting with you.
Oh, great. So, I have 1 child. She's 5. I've been teaching or a dance educator for, now this is going on 18 years. Wow. Wow. And how has being what was that last question again?
So once you had itty bitty, how has that impacted your instruction and also impacted parenting? Well, obviously it impacted parenting.
Well, it totally flipped being an educator upside down, because I no longer had time to really just focus on just teaching. I had to learn how to balance being here for him and making sure that I was engaged with him and still making sure I gave time to my actual students. So it's trying to do both. I had to figure out how to do that, and I had to figure out how to do both and not lose my mind. So it was just, how do you do these things?
Hey, Sandy.
I have 2 children. They are 9 and 4, so there's a big gap between them. And I have been a dance educator for 17 years. I would say it's been different with both kids, because I had Tony when I felt like I was just kind of not necessarily starting my career as a dance educator, but really gotten comfortable with my curriculum, with what my goals were, with what my teaching philosophy was, and was really jumping into the whole adjunct world and trying to figure out what my next steps were going to be. So it was a lot of discovery at that time. But with Margot, I was way more established as a dance educator, and it's really flipped. I think balance has been trying to balance the 2 things. I think I've become more flexible being a dance mom and a mom. And my patience is a lot better than it was before I had children. I'm definitely able to prioritize in a better way, but I really did have to shut off my teacher time, because it used to be a student could text me or email me at 12 a.m. and I would answer them, because everything to me just felt very urgent as a dance educator. And now it's I have times where I will shut off being that part of myself so that I can be fully fully present for my kids. But it was like, it took me about 3 to 4 years to like really figure out that balance for myself. But I would say like balance, flexibility, and patience were the 3 things that really changed and shifted for me between being a dance mom and being a mom to my biological children.
All right, Jen.
Okay, let me go to my notes. Am I the newest mom here? That's what's wrong with my brain. Okay. I have 2 kids. I have a daughter who is 3.5. She'll be 4 soon. And I have a son who is 8 months next week. Woo woo. Newborn, out of that phase. Let's see. I've been teaching dance for over 15 years. And the way that it has impacted my instruction, I think just echoing like some of the things that Sandra said, first of all, like turning off teacher time, because I think looking at everyone in this chat, like we're all kind of like workaholic people. And so we'll go and go and go like until the job is done or until it's like the product looks like what we want it to look like. And that's perfectly fine when there's not a person waiting for you. Like, I'm hungry, I want a juice box, I have homework, or whatever their extracurricular activities. So definitely like the time thing and knowing when to cut it off. I would also say just like use of my energy and trying to be more equitable about it. Like, I'm the type of teacher who likes to give everything, when I go to teach, but then I can't do that if I have to go home to a little one. So it's not to slight like my students, but it's just like, I have to have some energy for this little one who's looking, to me when I get home to entertain them. So, or play with them or feed them or whatever it is. So just learning how to kind of balance the energy and not feel bad about it, like dance teacher guilt, like mommy guilt, because they're your kids, right? They're our kids. They're our kids before we have kids. And so, yeah. And then parenting, let me see. I think that my teaching experience with little kids under 8 is helping my parenting because I taught children who were that young before I actually had children that were that young. So they probably helped me, honestly, as my students to be a better or more understanding parent.
All right, and Pasha.
All right. Hello. So I have 4 kids. Sorry. Forgot the first question. So it's not just you, Jennifer. So 4 kids, 10 to 21. And then I also was surrogate for some little babies that will be 1 later on this month on the 26th. So they aren't my babies at home, but I did carry them and taught with them. So, I figured that counts. Coming from a private sector of dance versus, in schools and whatnot, I have been teaching for 23 years. So I feel real old right now. But yeah, it's a little different because, most of these classes are after school type activities. And so I know, especially with Sade, when she was little, I just dragged her with me to class. I mean, I remember we used to have class down in Eastern Market on D Street. We were in some auditorium or whatever, and she'd be in her carrier up on the stage and I'd teach the class. And then later on, when she was a little bit older, she'd be standing at the bar behind me trying to do the combinations with me. And so she was always a part of it. And then, 4 years later with Osaze, he did get to stay home a little bit just because circumstances were a little bit different. But then once he was 4, he was at the studio with me as well. So then it became, making sure that I had their needs met, like they were able to eat. And then, I run to and teach my class. So that part was a little bit difficult. But then I also ended up with, 3 amazing kid dancers. So I'm a dance mom and a dance mom.
So, and most people know these things about me, but in fairness, I will also share. 3 kids, 17, 11, and 9, which is doing the most right now. I've been a dance educator for 13 years this year. And I would say parenting wise, I was working on the BFA when I had the first one. And so he just got dragged wherever I was going to go, or he got dragged to band practice with his father. So he was always just chill. He would just sit in the corner, watch whatever's happening, play on his little toys, his tablet, whatever he's doing, and live his life. The gap between him and the princess is 6 years. So sizable gap. With her, I was I was teaching in elementary. Oh, and that was not cute. Not enjoyable. And all three of them reflect what I was going through when I was pregnant with them. And it is clearly traumatic because the oldest is very skittish because I know what I was doing. I wasn't old enough, but we were out here. She is very much aggressive / I don't care about you. And that's how I was teaching elementary. So Jen, when I tell you, bless you for staying with the little ones. I ain't never been about it. And then the baby is...
They're awesome, by the way. They are very sweet children. Lovely children.
She wild though. But the baby's lit because I was teaching middle school at that point. And like kids were ready to like square up with me. And I'm like, oh, well, we can go. Like, what you're not doing is sending me to the hospital alone. So let's do it. So all three of them, it has been interesting. So dance impacted my parenting in the sense that, similar to what you were saying, Jen, that it did give me a little bit more perspective of, okay, these are some things that I've seen happen to some of my dance kids at the school. These are situations that I've seen them have to deal with. Okay, let me make sure I'm not putting my kids in these situations intentionally. Or if there's something that I'm like, oh, this worked well when I was helping this one student get through something, then now that's something that translates over to when I'm talking to the kids, particularly as they're going through that middle transition, preteen angst. I have to remind myself that I do love them. And they're trying, but they don't know what's happening either. And so it's just very much a give and take, I think, happened between the two. But being a parent did make me a better teacher in the sense of I would push my students to excel. Everyone didn't appreciate that, which is fine, I don't care. But I would always tell them, I'm teaching you the way I would want my children to be taught. So if I want my kids to have high quality education, then that's what I'm going to give to you. Whether you plan on pursuing dance or not makes me no up or down, no difference. But as long as I know I've given you all that I possibly could, then I know I did right by you. And that's what I will want. And I'm hoping all of my kids' teachers are doing for them. So, yeah. So everyone knows we're in the middle of a quarantine. The struggle is real. So one of my questions is,
not me.
How you doing?
I'm in Africa. I'm not there. Yes, I'm dancing in Africa with giraffes.
We got the whole safari going on over here.
Yes. You know. Okay.
So clearly Jen is doing well. She's on an entire safari, living her best life, while the rest of us are stuck in the state of Maryland.
I go on safaris to survive being home with my 2 children in the quarantine.
So how is that? Because I know for me, we're also doing like online instruction like most people at this point. But I know for the college, it looks different. And I know for you, Jen, you're not in the classroom. So how is this new shift in how we're approaching dance kind of working out for you right now?
Oh, it's not working out. I'm not going to. It's not even working out.
It's not working out at all.
It's not working out. Like, I'm literally trying to figure out and plan how I'm going to do this. I get an hour here, an hour there. I get most of my time at like 9:00 at night, and I am like done. I'm tired. I'm like all my energy has been with him, trying to entertain him, educate him, be a teacher to him. He's not in school yet, so I'm trying to get him ready. And so I'm like, I got a lesson plan for him, lesson plan for my kids at work, and give everybody the same amount of time and equity. And I'm just like, 9:00, I'm like, no, I just want to sit here, binge watch and binge eat and do nothing. But no, I still have to get these grades in, get these assignments done, figure out how to upload this video, what am I going to give to my kids to make sure they get what they need with all of their different dynamics, home life, what I know about them in terms of their learning styles. I haven't figured it out yet. So if any of you ladies have it, let me know, because I'm like, not, it's I'm going to get it together though, soon.
I ain't got it together. Full disclosure. I've recorded, I told y'all off air, I've recorded some videos, posted them, and I'm just like, all right, y'all, good luck. You got this. Shoot me an email if you got a question. Because the actual online teaching, in theory, I can see how you can make it work if you know for a fact everyone will have access. But that is not the case. And that has been by far my biggest concern. And I know, I knew off the bat, even if I hadn't taught K-12, if that's an issue college level, 100% is going to be an issue across the board, because these are like technical adults, maybe some of them are paying their own bills, figuring it out. But then you have many, many more who no, they're not. They at home with their mama, and if their mama ain't working that thing out, then there's nothing they can do about it. And so just trying to be accessible, but also not lose all the rigor, because grades still gotta happen. Still gotta grade these folks. And I'm like, I cannot in good faith just be like, you know what, you existed, you get an A. It burns my soul. And I'm like, I understand these are different circumstances, but it is not on my spirit to be like, anybody gets an A. Like, like, did you earn that though? Because if not, I can't. All right, Sandy.
God, there's so many variables that come to distant learning. I'm actually not uncomfortable doing distant learning, because it's just a part of like my teaching philosophy to always do like a multi-sensory kind of learning. I think that, and it has a lot to do with the way I learn, that I just need to see things from like a million different perspectives. So I've always used video and YouTube and different online elements to teach. I do find it incredibly hard to do live and do videos. I literally have no room in my house to do a live video, to be very honest. Like, I would hurt myself. And then I'm also watching my kids try to do, just simple things, and they don't have the space. So I've really worked to, like, my modern 1-2 right now, they're doing the Horton fortifications 1 and 2, and we're dissecting it, and they're doing reflection. So that's relatively stationary, but in order to really find all the extension and the line and the energy of what that technique is, even if you're in a contained space, you're not able to explore it the way that it needs to be explored. Plus, you're not in the studio with your students. So I find myself, like last night, writing paragraph upon paragraph of like, corrections and all this stuff. And I'm just like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I can record my comments like competition style. And it's just, I'm sitting here thinking, I have kids that are working. Technically still, I have moms in my classes. I have ESOL students. I mean, these are all these elements that we have students with IEPs, 504s that, watching a video is just like not going to do it for them. Not being able to ask the question immediately is not going to do it for them. And so I'm trying to make myself as available as possible during the day, but I also have a 9-year-old who has a full curriculum from 9 o'clock in the morning to 4:30. Of course, she's on spring break the same time as our kids are on spring break, so it is not helpful. And then I have my 4-year-old who's doing morning stuff, but she's just turned 4, so she's not necessarily in school yet, and I'm just trying to prepare her. And so I find myself trying to work while I'm trying to answer questions for my kids and make sure they're getting what they need, but also like trying to make myself available. And you have some kids, like we all know, are really comfortable with asking questions. And then you have some kids that are not going to ask the question, no matter how many times you text them, email them, send a reminder saying, if you have any questions, please ask me. If you don't even know how to ask the question, text me or call me. But you always have those students that are just like reluctant to do that. And so I just find it very frustrating with this like wall, this literal wall, blocking the way I teach. And so, and all of us in the dance field, I find are very hands-on teachers. And so it's so incredibly hard, even if I send them, you know, a simple reading on like, you know, what is modern dance for my Dance 1 students, and just trying to talk them through this individualized form and genre is incredibly hard. So though I'm comfortable putting assignments online, and, you know, working with online resources, you're not in the room with your kids. And you know that there's so many circumstances that I listed a bunch, but there's circumstances that we don't even know. And though all the kids supposedly have Chromebooks, or some device to work on, you don't know how many kids in that household are also working from the same device. Do they have internet connection? So then I go back to the same vein as you. It's like, do I want to give these kids that are not turning in the work an exempt, when some of them are not turning in the work for valid reasons, but some of them were not showing up to class before this happened? So it's like, you know, and all we're getting is this be nice to the students. And I'm like, of course I'm going to be nice and understand all these elements. But at the same time, homie hasn't shown up to class for a whole semester. So how am I supposed to grade this student when I know they're just simply not doing the work, but I can't prove it? So it's very complex. And I think there's a lot of elements that we just don't know. And we're just all trying to do our best, but it is incredibly frustrating. And the struggle is real right now. It is very real. So that's where I'm at.
I wholeheartedly agree. I will say, because I talked with Marcina about this a little bit, like that idea of for those who are turning everything in, getting it graded, grading them, you know, accordingly. And for those who are turning in nothing, then just exempt. Which also still burns my soul just a little bit, like just a little bit, a lot. But like you just said, you can't prove that, like, if you weren't coming to class before, I could prove that. Like, I could be like, but no, they're legit not in here. Like, they're not coming. But now it's like, well, I don't know what's going on at your house. Just because I have access to being online at any time of the day when I need to be, and I have enough devices where we can all handle our business, does not mean that that's how your life is too. And so it has been kind of just an internal struggle. But now some of them, but that kid who wasn't coming though, let me go ahead and exempt them assignments because they still not passing because you weren't there in the first place. So that was on you. Now, you could use this opportunity to fix your life, but you know, you probably won't. It's all right. You know, everybody don't be taking their opportunities when they first get them. It's okay. It's fine. There's other electives for you. It's okay. But I definitely have been struggling with that. But then also on the flip, looking at my own kids, and I'm just like, yeah, but could y'all give my kid a chance till I get it together? Because real talk, we have internet, clearly, on it right now. But when you're talking about all of us are on at the same time, it's problematic because they have assignments to get done. I have assignments to get done. They daddy be doing stuff. Like, you got at least 5 to 7 people up in here on the doggone internet. So it's like, okay, well, even with access, there's still some problems. So it's a lot of struggle bus right now.
For us, we have started doing, we've done recorded videos, which we have on available to our students. And I think next week we're starting the live classes for our older kids. We have some live classes starting now for our 5 to 7 year olds, which is fine. You know, you do a couple of hops, a little skip around. You know, you don't need that much room. But I think, you know, for once you start going into the older kids, it does get to be a problem unless, you know, they're living in some big, fabulous, you know, house where they have space. But I know for me, you know, 3 o'clock, I have it set, you know, time for Lamone, because Lamone is offering, you know, free dance classes on the Instagram. It's been great. Do I have enough room to do it? Not really. But, you know, I make do, kick the cat occasionally, but, you know, it's okay. Because I'm getting, you know, it's my little moment to get my life. But then, you know, like the other day, I had to yell at the kids. Cause I'm like, can I just have this moment? Because all day long, they want something to eat dinner. What's for dinner? What's for lunch? You know, and if I don't fix it, then they're not going to eat. And then, you know, oh, I have a headache. Oh, my stomach hurts. And so in the midst of me doing my own work that I have to do, I also have to still take care of them. And so it's like, I just needed that moment to myself. You know, I had my earbuds in and I just had it set up, and it still was impossible. So, you know, I can only imagine what some of these children are having to go through. And, you know, the problem though with us being in a private studio is that these parents want something for their kids because they've paid for it. And we're not in a position to do refunds for, you know, en masse for all these people. Cause I mean, we already weren't really making it. So, so then it's like, okay, we have to do something to make them happy, but not everyone is going to be happy. So I think it really is a lose-lose situation for everybody involved. I mean, like, yeah, you still get to, you know, kind of take class, but what are you really getting out of that class? You know, you're better off, you know, take a little Zumba class or, you know, walk around the park, you know, ride your bike. But as far as really trying to get your dance training and continue the continuity of learning that happens with that, the muscle memory, yeah, it's not going to be the same. And I think we're kidding ourselves if we think it is, you know, come May, June, July, whenever this is over, when we get into the studio, it's going to be like starting over.
Yeah, I know. A1 and A2, their studio, like, child, they've been doing like the live since I think last week. First of all, my kids were upset because they're like, "Wait, so we still got to go to the?" Like, yeah, no, I paid for that. So to your point, I paid for that already. I'm gonna need you. You got to log in. I'm sorry. That's when we learned just how much of a drain on our Wi-Fi situation Zoom is, because they have the same schedule time-wise, but they're in different classes. So they can't even share a device and be in class together. So one is like in a bedroom upstairs, one is like in the living room, taking the dining room chairs to do bar, and just trying to figure out how can I do this combination and still be on the camera. And so it has been very interesting to watch. But I will say, parent side of it, I do appreciate the effort. I might also be biased because I get it. Like I literally teach the same things. So maybe I have that different perspective. But I 100% appreciate that effort was put out there, that, okay, so it won't be complete ground zero when we come back. At least we can get you through this portion of class. Now, the combination be, it's a sin watching it. And I'm just like, and all you, like, they just be looking at me like, I'm like, you're in class, don't look over here. But I'd be over there laughing, which I'm not helping. That's my fault. But it's like, it's rough because there is no space. All of y'all been to my house. It's sizable. I'm not going to front. But ain't no space big enough to be no studio. Like, they ain't doing nobody's nothing full out. There will be no leaps in here. There will be zero. They tearing up the floors doing tap. It's a lot. But I do like that it does give at least a semblance of normalcy. That they know, okay, well, it's Tuesday, 6 o'clock, I'm gonna be in XYZ class. And no, it's not the same, but at least it's close enough for me to just try to pretend for a little bit that we're not in the situation that we're in. So
can I chime in real quick?
Yeah.
So one of the things that, and I know Marcina is in the same boat, starting the week of the 14th, I don't know if it's the same for every school, but all of the electives are on Friday.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here thinking, I got like 8 dance classes. How am I supposed to, what? So that's one of the things I'm sitting here thinking, well, I understand, again, all of our kids have 10, for my group, from the majority of my group, I have 10, they have 10 classes. For a comprehensive program, they have 8. And I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, each day is delegated to a different subject area, but now every single elective is on Friday. And I'm like, how is that supposed to work? Because in the last 2 weeks, we've been able to give instruction throughout the week if they have a question, whatever, and you can still do that remotely. But I wanted to, I all of us want to be able to engage with them differently. And so one of my frustrations, and I'm sure it's every subject area's frustration, but some areas lend itself to distant learning better than the arts.
For sure.
And, I give these kids credit because they're having to modify, which are things that you learn how to do more in like a college setting. They're having to do a lot of site-specific dance.
Yes.
They're having to decide within a phrase, okay, I'm going to show this full out. I'm going to show this full out, but I'm going to modify this, this, and this. They're having to learn from video, which a lot of my level 1s and 2s are really, really struggling with, because even if I'm on the camera and I'm saying right and left, we all know, we've been in the room where we're like, okay, right side, and you always have that kid that goes to the left. So it's, that whole like pushing all one type of learning, all the electives on one day.
And what's crazy about that is, for sure, I got the email from the teenagers' school saying that. And I was just so bombarded with what I'm dealing with in school that I didn't register that. And as you said it, I was like, wait a minute, but he has more than one. Number one. I was like, how exactly are you supposed to, how does that schedule work? But then from your perspective, because number one, people really be thinking that dance is dance. You're just teaching the same thing all the time. It's like, oh no, I'm 100% not. These are all different classes. It can be 2 sections of dance 1, and those are 2 completely different classes. We're on 2 completely different units. So how exactly, like, what is the expectation? Like, have I'm also trying not to get folks in trouble. So,
well, my school,
I can't answer that. Just let me know. But have they started giving any type of guidelines on how to make it work?
So my principal sent out this spreadsheet, this Google form about our virtual office hours from 9 to 1. And I'm like, first of all, half my students don't even email me till 12, 11. So they're not even up at 9 o'clock. So I'm not even going to set office hours at 9 o'clock because I'm not even up at 9 o'clock fully ready to like do anything. So they wanted us to be on this set schedule of 9 to 1. And that's what the county sent out. And after 1 o'clock, you're free. But that's really not going to work for me. So I put in some times just so that the principal can see how ridiculous it is to have all of the arts or all the electives on Friday, because we all did it and we're all clashing up against each other, so they can see it. And I'm like, this is not going to work. There is no real feedback other than everything's on Friday, post on Friday, grade on Friday. Yes, do this on Friday, be available for kids at a certain time, 30 to 45 minutes a day per class. And I'm like, that's most of my morning. And that's most of my morning, and I still have my own child. So like, I can't, like, this is impossible. So it's really no real feedback. It's just do this. And like the cores have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so me and another colleague were talking like, this is dumb. Why didn't they just say, English and an elective, or, how to spread it out a little better to make it, or electives every day. And then the cores on certain days, and elective teachers can choose when they want to like post. If it's like you said, I have 4 preps. I have 4 different classes. And as you said, my dance one, 3 of them on 3 different levels. They're on all different spectrums of where they are. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. But there's no guidance. It's just do this. Here you go. Have fun.
I think this will probably be my place to chime in, because all of the newer teachers who are experiencing all of this are contacting me. So, which they should, as my position, that's what I do. But all of these different kind of anxieties or how to manage things on top of, I'm trying to learn how to be a teacher. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I was just getting really into writing lesson plans and feeling really comfortable. And now you're telling me I have to do it like at home, you know? So it's kind of always just trying to maintain some type of positivity when I talk to people. I just think that saying that we're building this plane while we're flying it is ever so appropriate, like in this situation for real. Like I've heard people say that and I'm like, yeah, okay. But I think this is one of the situations where I'm like, okay, this is really, we really are. Like we're adding the seat belts and the oxygen masks and we're up in the air. Like we're just, you know, so I am fortunate in the sense that I did virtual stuff with everybody. I've always done that, and mainly because of how scheduling is, you know, with everyone. Most of you have taught in this county, middle and high school, and so you know there's like a format. So all of my middle school teachers have the same planning, usually. All of my high school teachers have like either the same planning or one of those like, you know, it's all over the place. So I have to use the virtual format sometimes even before we were integrated into this situation, because you know, 5 people want to talk to me about the same thing that's due in 2 days, but they all have the same planning. So this format that we're doing, actually I've done, meaning multi people like on the same chat, either on Zoom or Google Meet or something like that, where I can explain the same thing to 5 people one time, you know, in time enough for them to feel like they have enough time to digest it and do whatever is due on whatever date. I definitely have been getting a lot of questions from the newer teachers. I think the pass or incomplete grading is really throwing them for a loop, you know, as it's throwing us all for a loop, but they're just kind of like, I think it's affecting for some of them the weight of the work or the quality of the work or the purpose of the work. You know, those questions are coming out. So again, I'm just always telling everybody, like, I think we should just give every single person grace. Even it might be somebody I didn't really like, or somebody who never gave me no grace, you know. But I think we all have to just give each other grace in this situation, because nobody knows what's happening. No one. No one knows what's happening. No one knows truly where we're going. No one knows when this is going to stop, you know. So that's just kind of how I've been operating, like trying to keep everyone positive and remind people that we're all confused. You know, one of my teachers was like really frustrated with a parent, and I'm like, the same way you're frustrated, this is that parent's first time doing this. This is your first time doing this. This is that student's first time doing this. This is your school's first time doing this, the district, the state, the nation. So it's everybody's like first time doing this. And so, but I definitely agree that we're not a content that's supposed to be mostly, you know, online. It should be the opposite. So that definitely presents a challenge, but I'm like, hey, you know, this could be a new niche. Like, find your thing. What can you do online? What are you finding? I'm challenging some of my teachers. What are you finding that you're really good at, like online? Like, some teachers are like, you know, I'm really getting into this question, you know, discussion and questions techniques with my kids, and it was harder for me to do it in the classroom. Okay, well then work on that, expound upon that, you know, get like a group situation going on with the kids, so where they're not just talking to you, they get a chance to talk to each other. So I think also just finding like what is working, and then let me just go, you know, in that direction.
And for the private sector, are you finding that like the teachers are kind of having like that same feel, or the need to kind of search for like the what's working, what's not?
Well, we just kind of started, and so we were doing recorded videos. So I think because we closed on March 14th. And so that first week we weren't doing anything. I mean, behind the scenes we were doing things. And then we did some recorded videos in the studios with like one teacher, one student, you know, on like a separate bar, and a pianist, and we had a videographer. So we were able to get some really good quality videos up. But now, with this whole stay-at-home order and everything, where everyone has to, pretty much figure it out at their house, some teachers have had a lot of anxiety about it. It's like, well, how am I supposed to do it by myself? And, is the quality going to be anything? I can't see the kids to give them any kind of instruction and whatnot. And so I think next week is when we'll start hearing really about how that's working. We've had, Tuesday. So we've had 3 adult classes that have gone on, and then one set of our intro 1, 2, and 3 classes. I did hear back from one of the parents from one of our little ones. They were just so over the moon, to kind of bring some normalcy back to their kids. So that was good. The adults, we have some really diehard adults that, they'll trek in for a dance class in a snowstorm. And then question us why we cancel class early. Like, okay, there's a blizzard outside and we kind of need to get home. But I'm here. Why can't you have class? So, I think with our adults are a little extra in that respect. We love them. But wherever we say we're having class, they're going to show up. We could have class under the water and they would be there, snorkel and all. So we'll see. What we're trying to do is have a class meeting, kind of check in with everybody, and then they're saying, by level, a certain number of classes that people should be trying to take at home. Which, I haven't spoken up about anything yet in that respect. I don't know if it's my place necessarily. And then also, not wanting to instill what I know I'm dealing with at home and put that on everybody. But, like with Osaze, I highly doubt that he's going to take any of his classes. He's 6'1". We're in a 2-bedroom apartment that we've converted into a 3-bedroom apartment. So there's just really not room for him. Is he going to want to do anything? No. Are they going to look at him kind of sideways if he does it? They probably will. And, it's like, is that really fair to him when there just isn't the space? So yeah, I don't know how it's all going to shake out. We'll have to see. But again, people paid, so we got to deliver some kind of product.
That is true. That is true. So I think the question that I had for you, Pasha, is, I know at least I'm going to say this from the parent side. As a parent, I've been told they got to like the end of April and then they going somewhere. They going to show back up in somebody's building. It's true. But have y'all been working based off of a timeline, or is it just kind of as you go, you guys are making the necessary adjustments?
Yeah, it's kind of been going along with what Hogan has been doing. So when, they said all essential business was closing down, I think on Monday the 16th, everyone was getting really skittish about that. So then we went ahead and closed on Saturday, the 14th. And then once they extended it out, then we were like, okay, well, we'll probably just end up having to do this through, I think at first it was April 24th, and they just said, all of April. So I don't know. I've scheduled stuff through the end of May, just to make sure that, we're covered and I don't have to go back and do too much extra work later on. But then again, it's really, so much stuff is up in the air. And there are so many schools that have just kind of given up the ghost. Houston, we have a lot of kids going off for summer intensives, and Houston Ballet, they just said that they weren't doing any summer intensive for anyone that's coming from out of state. So we've got kids that are now like, what do we do? And I'm sure it's going to be more of them as this continues, because, the arts is already such a fragile industry, and so many of them are nonprofit. And so with all the ticket sales that they've lost and are losing and will continue to lose, I just had to do a spreadsheet yesterday regarding how much money we're losing in adult classes on a weekly basis. And it's pretty astonishing. And the thing about it is that, yeah, we're not in the building, but we still got to pay that rent. And, whew. I don't know how we're going to do it. I'm hoping we survive this and weather the storm, but I think there's going to be a lot of schools that don't. And that's unfortunate, because, we're sitting here bending over backwards to make sure that folks get what they need. But then at the end of the day, is there going to be something for them to come back to? Is there going to be a building for them to come back to?
Yeah, I think I saw a Facebook post that kind of summed that idea up pretty well to me. A woman just saying, she was like, you know, what I did today, I just paid my studio bill in full. She's like, because this is a small business, they still have to pay their bills. And if we aren't paying them, then it is going to be more likely that they're not going to be around when we are able to go back. And that for me did give it a little bit better of a context of, because I was like, yo, I'm legit paying and I'm looking at you in my living room and I get it. But hearing it that way, I was like, yeah, but no, you're right. Because I would love for them to still be open and like able to take the kids back once we get to normal, or we're able to not be quarantined as such. So fingers crossed, hoping the best for y'all too, because this is, again, we are in the middle of making history. This is new for us. And I mean, there's been, not to call it the plague, but people can call it plague. So now I'm here with it. So there have been other instances of diseases sweeping through, but for us, for our generations that are here currently, I don't think we've been through something of this magnitude before. We've never had to shut it down. And so it's an adjustment period. I wish more people would have more grace with businesses like that, because I mean, there's nothing you can do. Like you don't have an option. Like you can't say, oh, well, I know they said only essential places can be open, but you know, still gotta keep these bills paid, still gotta pay rent, still gotta make life happen, still gotta pay XYZ. Like no one, it feels as though there's way more than not taking the human side into consideration. That I'm like, you know, yo, everybody is struggling right now. It's not like there's only a set population that's dealing with it. Like, oh, them folks over in New York, it's just them quarantined. Like, no, B, it's all of us. Like, yeah. Everyone is legit struggling right now. Like, could you just for a moment, even if you can't just completely wipe out what something is costing, to even just give space to say, okay, I understand that this is the situation you're in. Let's figure out a way to make it work. And they're just, I would say overall, there needs to be more of that going on. But people aren't really thinking about that. They busy going to the war and living their best life. Like, we not quarantined in this moment.
Listen, I'm going to go back to Grace because we are not going to talk about these people at the wharf. Go home. I love seafood, like a lot. Like salt, seafood, and meat, top. I just had a giant steak. Sandra could tell you. Listen, I will not be at the wharf. That steak was in my freezer already. Okay, back to the Grace. Yes, the Grace situation. I thought about it immediately because all of you know I had a program for several years and I no longer do it by choice. But I said to my husband the other day, I was like, oh my God, wait, if I was still doing that, I would be sitting here trying to figure out how I'm going to pay the person I was subleasing from, because I know they have to pay, you know, their lease. And then I would feel terrible because I wouldn't be maybe able to pay all my teachers, because like you said, I'm sure there's some parents who are not paying because they just can't. There's some who are not paying because maybe they don't think in that chain. And then there's the few, you know, who maybe are still paying. And so then you feel bad because your teachers become like your family and, you know, you get to know their kids or their, you know, that. And so you start thinking like in that chain. And I was just like, oh my gosh, if I still had a program, like the stress. So that's one of the things I've been thinking about, like just the mental stress on people. Our students, like we were saying, at home, trying to learn in these small confined spaces, you know, being around people all day. Everybody needs their, like, well, I do. Everybody needs like just a moment. It could be like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but some people are literally around people every single day, all day for day. You know what I mean? So, but like stress is a big thing that I've thought about a lot, because I've had a lot of people close to me be affected prior to this, just different ailments that are either caused by stress or like inflamed by stress. And so I just have been thinking about that a lot as far as businesses, small businesses, and like Pasha, you were saying like the arts, like I feel like the arts is one big small business, in terms of how it operates in terms of budgeting and stuff. So yeah, really concerned about people's stress level.
Yeah. And like with my program, because I am kind of like the head of one of the co-directors of the contemporary division, and all of my teachers have had to be furloughed. Like I'm the only one that is still on salary or being paid, and so like I'm having these check-ins with all the kids. Have to teach all of the kids, and so how do you even account for that? And then we have payroll coming up again in I think the end of this week, and they're gonna have to make some more cuts. Like if folks aren't doing anything, then we can't really justify keeping them on payroll because May, the M word, is gonna be here before we know it. So it's real.
Yeah, my aunt, she is a director for like a large scale company, and she's a VP, and she was told the Wednesday before last, like by Monday you have to figure out 200 people to lay off, and that's like a huge company. And so I'm like, our arts organizations, where they even may be larger or more well-known companies, there's not a lot of people who run those businesses. So when you start having to cut people, it's kind of like always personal a little bit, because we're like, our industry is just a close-knit kind of thing. When you're working with people in that capacity, it always becomes a little personal. So definitely thinking about those families.
Yeah. And when the Kennedy Center is having to furlough 60% of its employees, that's when it's like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this idea, Jen, that you brought up, worrying about the stress that this could be potentially inducing, exacerbating would be the word I would use. Dealing with how y'all individually are coping with things, how have you been managing the stressful aspect and, in theory, not allowing it to kind of bleed over into home life? Because now everything's happening at home.
I was just talking about this with a friend yesterday, and so one thing I've learned is that I can only take 30 minutes of news a day. So we already have like this 24-hour news cycle, and all of us are old enough to remember when that was not a thing. So that's the first place I'm like, can you just take me back to like in the morning, early afternoon news, like that little snippet before Oprah used to come on, and then the real news after, like cut all this like 24-hour news because it's overwhelming. So one thing for stress, I literally, because I want to be informed, but I can't all day just hear like, things that are sad and depressing, and, so 30 minutes, whether it's like first thing in the morning or before I go to bed, like, let me recap what happened in the nation today that I missed, but I cannot continuously watch the news. Also, as far as like, just trying to focus on my unit sometimes and what I can do to protect these people, because I'm the kind of person who is very, I don't want to say emotional. I'm a Pisces. Wait, because some people go crazy. Don't y'all do that look. Don't any of you do that look. You all know me. So don't do that look you do when people say they're Pisces. But, I could be a little emotional and take on like the feelings and the like hurt and weight of others. And so sometimes I honestly have to like just make a little bubble. And it's not like I stay in this bubble and don't ever think about others, but sometimes I'm like, okay, let me just focus on this at this moment. Because for me, if I take everything in constantly, it's just too overwhelming and I can't function, so focusing on my little macro or micro, I guess would be micro, but also still having compassion for everyone else.
I find myself very like cut off because I'm not an emotional, I embody a lot of emotion. I internalize it, but I'm not an like an outwardly emotional person. And I've noticed the reply all. I cannot with the reply all, with like my principal sending, email after email, which has actually been super informative. I would say, normally I kind of skim through emails. I star the ones that are really, important for my program, or something that's, important for me administratively. But all of the emails that we've been receiving so far have been super important and informative. But the fact that 116 people are replying to that one thing and don't understand how to do reply to the person that it came from is driving me insane, to the point where like I read the initial email and I delete it because I can't anymore. And I have had to, I think in the last like couple of days, have had to look at Facebook or social media in the morning, and then at night. I can't look at it all day long because it was starting to like really plague me. And I found myself like searching for good news, but also making sure I read, the story and not the headline, because some of it's clouded in this weird story and there's a lot of weird information going out. I have taken it upon myself, because I know my demographic at my school, to send the kids information that is real, that is coming from a real source, as opposed to them reading all this stuff and them not being able to process it, because they are of a generation where they're constantly getting information here, there, and everywhere. And I am really trying to get my students to understand reliable, credible sources. So when I see something that I know impacts them or impacts their family, I'm trying to send it to them, but also send them like a really, motivational quote for the day, go outside, things that I need, that I know are motivating me, and just check in with people. It has made me be a little bit more thoughtful and checking in with my friends, because usually we're all like running around working 16 hours, performance here, performance there, getting kids ready, that I've noticed it's actually been good to check in with people I never get to check in with. So that's been really lovely. But I have like really shut myself off from a lot of things, just because it's just so much is online right now, and so much is, about being online and being connected in that way, that for me, it's almost too much. Like, I feel like for me, going to Costco is overwhelming. And so that's how I feel like my life is right now. It's like a one big online Costco, and I need to like shut it down. So that's just something I've noticed about myself lately.
So you made me think about something, humor. I left that out because we had an exchange about this reply all on Snapchat. We were like, oh my God, if people don't stop. And it'll be like, thanks for the information. Got it. Read. Okay, guys. So I have to go back to one of the ways I have been choosing to deal with it is I have to find some humor every day. Like, so if it's like a cute little Snapchat, like, moment where we're just like venting, like, I think I sent a Snapchat the other day and was like, there are no more Kit Kats in the house. What am I going to do? Like, okay, Kit Kats, really. But humor, some of these memes that are coming out, like some of the GIFs, however you say it. I know it's like data. But yeah, I have to find a little bit of humor. And so what I did was, this one group chat I'm in, sometimes it can get a little heavy and serious. A lot of intellectuals are in this group chat. And so I decided to write, because everything I've been putting in there lately has just been like straight up ignorant humor. And I was like, I just want to make sure I'm not offending anybody, because, you never know. Like, there are people who know people who've been affected. And so I'm like, I don't want to be in here like trying to be funny and somebody's having like it's not funny day. And so I just checked in, so that's one thing that actually happened yesterday, I think. So I'm going to continue to do, like, if I'm feeling like really goofy, in a group or something, I do want to just check in before, because you don't know, who's been affected or who knows someone or how they're feeling that day, even if they don't know anyone. Like Sandra said, checking on a lot of my friends who are single or maybe live alone. So even if they're people, like Sandra was saying, who are always on the go, now we're quarantined, and they live alone. And so, not that that's like a sad thing, because as a mom who never gets any alone time, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. Alone time is great, but again, just thinking about like if you're quarantined and you live alone, like when's the last time you saw someone, even like a FaceTime or like a drive up. I can drive up and not get out my car and roll the window down. Hey girl, open your front door, something. But those are other ways that popped into my mind from what Sandra shared of like coping or interacting with people.
I'm going to just agree with most of it. I've been trying to stay off of social media. I check in the morning and check it at night, because the stuff that's coming through social media, some of it's factual, some of it's not, and trying to digest and dissect what is actually factual. I don't know, my timeline seems to be just negative all the way down a lot. And I'm trying to stay off of it, because it's always, this person, the conspiracy theories, it's 5G, it's the sonar, I don't know, all these things that are coming down. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to read all of that. But also, like you said, trying to stay informed about what's really going on. Secondly, I'm choosing who I need to talk to and who I don't, because like, honestly, like even family members, I don't need to speak to all of them. Like, they are just it's so overwhelming. And like somebody already struggles with anxiety, it's not easy to deal with talking to even family members, because I just want to talk about the negative. Also, one thing that's definitely keeping me sane is therapy, teletherapy. Like, I'm so glad that my therapist is available via her computer, because if I couldn't have my weekly sessions, I think I would be outside wrapped up in leaves or something. I don't know, just trying to like maintain sanity, but just trying to dissect and digest what is good for me versus what is not good for me. Also, just like taking the kid outside, or just going outside and sitting on the deck and enjoying some sun and watching the squirrels run or whatever. It's just small things to find a little bit of mental clarity, a little bit of peace, a little bit of alone time. Like you said, just even if it's 5 minutes, let me go in the bathroom and hide. Like, just find something to do to keep myself together.
Well, I'm clearly having my alone time out here in the park, so it's nice and quiet. A couple of little crazy people running, but it's quiet, unlike back there. So, you take those moments. When they were first handing out Chromebooks, it's about a 2-mile walk from my place to the high school, and I took that 2-mile walk just to have that quiet time, and it was very lovely. And I actually walked a lot faster than I thought I was going to do it. So I was like, okay, yay me for not being a complete couch potato yet. But you have to find those moments, and kind of check in with yourself and make sure that everything is okay. And then I was off of social media pretty much before all this happened. And so I find that now I'm going back into it a little bit more, trying to connect with some people that I've lost touch with, but I'll go say hello, whatever, and then I'm right back off, because I was like, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I can't. And so, you have to do what's best for you. If you're one that you're going to feel okay watching 24-hour news cycles, then, good on you. That's not me. So I get my little notifications from news from my phone. I see what I want to read. And, I read a variety of things, including stuff from Fox News, because you always have to know what the other side is thinking. Because otherwise you're just in a vacuum like they are. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
And I, piggybacking off of Marciana, therapy is a beautiful thing. Child, I know she'd be sick of me some Fridays, but I'd be like, well, look, this is how this week went. Just let me talk through this. Like, just help me get this out, because and for me, that hour is my me time. Every other place, I am teacher, I am mother, I am student, and for that bit of time, it's just me. And I get to just, and it's also because I have all those other things going on at the same time. Y'all know me, I'm always doing too much. That release is needed. I think I don't think it's intentional, but there is, for some reason, a belief amongst the offspring that alone time is not that necessary. And I'm like, but if you want me to just be a better parent, it is though. Like, give me this, like, let me have this moment. So what has ended up happening, been working out. I hate working out. It is the devil. I hate it with a deep-rooted passion, but don't nobody be talking to me though. So I'm like, bet we're gonna work out now. Even when I'll take them, they can go ride their bikes. I'm just walking behind them. I have on headphones and I'm just like, all right, y'all, just stay where I can see you. If I need to like get to you real fast, I need baby to get to you. But besides that, go do what you're doing. I'm just gonna listen to this music and walk and try to breathe and pretend that none of the other crazy things are happening. But I do think it is very important, particularly for, like, it is for everyone, but particularly for those who do have like a history of anxiety, depression, suicidal tendencies. I check all those boxes. So I'm like, y'all really need to understand when I'm telling you I need a minute. It is an actual need. And I'm thankful that I'm at the point in life where I am now able to speak up and ask for that moment. And I think the people who I keep in mind are the people who aren't there yet. And so they don't know how to ask for it, or they know that if they ask for it, it'll be immediately shut down. And it's like, okay, well, how are y'all doing? Like, how are you handling this? And most of my friends that I know deal with it. We know each other deal with it. And so we can at least talk to each other. Know that it's like judgment-free zone. Say what you got to say. If you need advice on something, I'll give advice, and vice versa. I like getting it also. But it really, in the process of talking with one of my friends, it just popped in my head that I was like, yo, there are probably a lot of people out there who don't have this. And I can't fathom, and I'm like really hoping and praying that everyone who is dealing with any of those type of dark moments and thoughts as we're going through all of this, that they can just hold on for us to get to the other side of it and be able to get back out and get back to their outlets.
Yeah, I think, as adults, we've grown into knowing what we need, and some of us are still on that journey. Because I know for myself, therapy was a relatively new thing. It was something I always needed and wanted to do, but it didn't really come into my life until about last year, and I'm super thankful for that. But we have a lot of students that were very reliant on the school counseling. We've had a couple of students that, parents have died and they were just starting grief counseling. So that's something I've been really knowledgeable of and thoughtful of, and trying to check in with those students, because I will say, as arts teachers, we do have a relationship with our kids that a lot of other educators don't. And they do confide in us in a very different way. And so I'm happy of that, because I'm able to check in with those kids, because, culturally, religious, like all these different elements play into why some of them don't feel comfortable talking to their parents or talking to their relatives about this at home. So we're able to give them those services at school in a confidential way, but now they're dealing with it at home. And I've also noticed that a lot of my kids have become the parents, because their parents are like, cool, you're home. I have to go to work because I'm an essential worker and childcare is closed. So I've noticed in a lot of my kids' videos, they're sitting there with their 2-3-year-old, sometimes infant siblings, while they're trying to be a kid themselves. And that has taken a toll on a lot of students too. So I think, it's imperative that we're checking in on all of our friends and adults, but especially the ones that are not there yet, that are in that developmental stage, that really just need that support. I'm literally checking in on one student every single day, because she lost her parent, and she lost her parent recently, and she was just going to grief counseling, and now that's not available. And so checking in on her every single day is just something I have to do. And I think a lot of teachers are also carrying that weight with them, knowing that information about some of their kids. And it's affecting a lot of teachers in a very deep way. So I do applaud a lot of the counties for making sure educators are getting those resources and getting those resources for free. But, a lot of people are not. So yeah, I think the more we can take care of ourselves, the more we can take care of others and be knowledgeable that others need us just as much as we need them.
Now, do you know, are they, have there been any plans put in place to have more availability to students, to like guidance or any other sources?
I know at my school, and I'm pretty sure I'm not sure, I'm not going to speak for all schools, but specifically for Northwestern, there has been the counselors themselves, La Clinica, that's a huge element of our school, have made it a point to reach out to kids, but it's also like that issue of accessibility. How many kids have, internet, phone service, like all of this stuff. So I know that's been a huge issue as well. It's like, whether they're reaching out to them or not, do the kids have the accessibility to reach back in? And some kids have just become really disconnected because they're really not sure what's going on. People, parents are losing their jobs. So there's this huge uncertainty. And I think a lot of kids are just reverting or, moving into themselves. So I know that my school has been really good about trying to connect with as many students as possible, but it's just that, all those variables that we have no control over.
And then as you were saying that it clicked, I was like, but wait, even if, let's say I do have access for you to call me and check in on me, if something's going on at home, I can't talk to you about that while I'm in there. Like that's not going to work out for anyone involved. So, this is all just, it's like, my dang, like this is literally lose-lose. Like just cross the board, just throw this whole 2020 away. Let's just.
I mean, I will say that, it feels that way, but I know the kids that, and I know, like I said, us as artists and teaching artists, we have a relationship with our kids that a lot of other educators don't have. And so I know just sending like a reminder to my kids every morning, which is like the way that I connect with my kids broadly, just being like, good morning, kids, like, how's everything going? Be safe, go outside. Like those messages have been, from the feedback that I've gotten, have been, really relevant and valid and needed. And so I think just reaching out, even if it's like a simple hello, and just letting them know that we think about them, has been a thing. But yeah, there's a lot of variables that none of us would be able to capture every single one. But I think working towards it and offering it is all that we can really do.
That is true.
I was going to say really quickly, the remind and all of that made me think of the only thing I thought, not the only thing, because there was a lot of things. The first thing I thought when I saw the schedule was, do you know how many kids come to school for the arts to just give us that, that day? And it's like Sandra said, you don't want to overstep your boundaries and contact them on other days when it's not your day, because you want to respect, like the way everything has been laid out. But at the same time, like you said, those relationships that we build with the kids, because we spend so much time with them in rehearsals, performances. Oh, you nicked your toe, I ain't your mama, but let me look at it. You're hungry. Hey, this is my lunch, but sure, go ahead and have some of my, okay, and the water too. It just kind of goes like that. And so that was honestly, my very first thought when I saw the schedule. I was just like, And then, so originally when I saw it, I didn't see the rotating. So let's start there. I thought it was just every Friday. And so then when I saw the rotating, I was like, wow. I think that the connection that a lot of kids have with their arts teachers, and specifically their teachers, or just how they feel about that art, to motivate them in terms of like school. I think that's like a little bit, not a little bit, maybe a lot underestimated here where we are. So yeah.
I'm inclined to agree with you. It is a lot underestimated.
I mean, like, look at how I feel about your kids. It's because I taught them the arts. If I taught them math, I wouldn't like them at all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, muting my mic again. Bye.
How many years ago was it that you taught the princess? That's been a minute.
It's been 3 years.
And yeah, okay, so both of them about 3 years ago, and they still talk about you as though you are teaching them currently.
And that's how I feel about them. I'm with her, and I'm like, can you pull up pictures? Can we FaceTime? Take this picture and send it to them, you know. But I know you're used to it because I'm getting used to it too. You know, when you have kids, nobody cares about you anymore. They're like, where's your cool kid? You were like the transport here, and we once had a relationship, but now, where's your cool kid? I mean...
That's for real. Of which your girl keeps walking past and she just keps staring at me.
I mean, she might want to be a part of
She
the podcast.
would.
Mind my business. Mind my business.
I don't think she's trying to be up in here like that. But she 100% just keeps walking by the door staring at me, and it's very disconcerting. But to your point, though, like even if I had never experienced what it was to be in the arts myself, taking that personal experience out, just seeing how my kids have made those connections with their arts teachers, that when I say they legit don't even remember no one else's name, they really don't. And it's not to say that the other people don't matter. It's just that they don't matter, though, because it's like, okay, well, this is like, sorry, it'd be like that sometimes. Like, we're that artsy family, and I mean, real talk, yes, other people matter. I'm trying to act right, not be completely out of pocket today. But the type of matter, I think, is where the difference is. That can I maybe name some of my old teachers? Yeah, probably. Can I name you all of my band directors? I sure can. Because that's who made sure I had my college applications done. That's who made sure I was ready for my audition. That's who came to the school, and I'm technically a grown adult, and they came and checked me because that band director had told them, hey, yo, get her. They called them before they called my parents, which I was thankful for, number one, because I would have got snatched up. But they 100% came from Detroit, Michigan, all the way to Norfolk, Virginia, to come ring me out. So these are the people who I remember. And it's not that they were more important, it's that they were more impactful. And yes, there's an English teacher doing that for somebody. There's a math teacher doing that for somebody. That's cool, but I ain't here to talk about them because I don't teach none of them subjects. For me and mine, I'm sorry, y'all know me. For me and mine, the arts take priority. And it's not that we see no value in the rest. It's just where stuff is going to fall on the list. And it just is. And so for them to be separated from that has been hard to see. And I think that is also part of why I really appreciate the live classes. Because you can hear this, first of all, I can't imagine watching all the little boxes because it's a bunch of them in those classes. And you're going box by box saying, oh, good job, Sandy. Okay, Marcina, make sure that you're lifting. Okay, Jen, don't forget to point that foot. Okay, Pasha, pay attention to your arm. And like they're going through, like they're checking off and they're really trying to make sure they're still giving that same type of attention. And to be honest, I don't know that I see that all the time from other places. So just the nature of what we do is we're in their business. We're in the mix. We, by default, always see the overlap with us and other subjects. So we can push it. They don't as much. Former location with you, Sandy? form of vocation. We'll never forget that a dance major, was told to their face, well, what are you going to do with this? And I'm like, she got 2 whole teachers right here who do the thing. Like, I have a whole career doing the thing that she wants to do. It is possible. But on the flip, I've never heard an artist talk like that to someone else. And that for me is why I always just rank us just a lot higher. We be up here, they be right here. I mean, they're not down here, but we be up here because we see that big picture a different way. And we see how it involves the entirety of the child. Because I would never tell a child that English is not important. I'm like, baby, you need to be able to read your contract. You need to be able to comprehend that. You need to know what you're signing up for. When you are checking your account, you need to be able to do that math correctly. You need to be able to balance this here checkbook, make sure you're good. Like, you need these things. History, be stressful to me, but yeah, you kind of need to know what happened. So if nothing else, you can try to avoid these mistakes. Don't make the same one. Make a new mistake if you got to, but don't make the same one that happened, because we saw how it panned out. Like, we see that and we just inherently put it all in. And I think that's why we're better than everyone. I said it. I meant to. I'm petty and childish, but I meant it from the depths of my being. I meant it. And on that note, I did want to touch on this one question. I think, Sandy, you posted this to the group. So just the notion, how have you received this, or have you noticed this? The notion that teachers are on vacation and kind of, either you're not having to do as much, so we shouldn't be hearing your complaints, or the expectation that as an educator, you should still be maintaining the exact same level of here-with-itness that other people get to take a step back from because we are in a crisis. But as an educator, you don't get that space. So have any of you dealt with any of that?
I will say it's kind of this weird paradox. I have seen some tweets that have been like, this is so hard. Teachers are on vacation right now. But I'm like, what? And then I've seen oh my God, teaching is such a hard job. And I'm having to do this at home and blah, blah, blah. And I think in that realm, it's like, thank you. Awesome. People finally realize that, like, we never get to leave this stuff in the classroom, private sector, K through 12, residency, whatever. We don't leave our work at work. Our work is with us all the time, in our dreams, in the car, in the shower, like all the time. And, with that, it doesn't matter to me what subject area, because I know there are science teachers that are doing the same thing. It's like constantly going down that lesson plan, trying to figure out what the needs are, how to approach students that are challenged by the information, or really getting the information. How can we push them forward? It's like your mind is always going. But there's also this notion of like, well, yeah, your job is really hard and I appreciate you more. And I'm like, yes, finally, thank you. We also need to get paid more. There's that whole thing, but we won't go there right now. But it's also like, you guys forget that we're still teaching. Like, we're still teaching our kids. So whether you think we're on vacation from your kids, a lot of us are parents and have kids that we are still teaching, and have multiple students and kids that we're still teaching. So it's like, yeah, trying to teach a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old, they're like on 2 different wavelengths, or trying to entertain the 4-year-old so the 9-year-old can get the work done. It is also, whether you have 1, 2, 3, like, it doesn't matter how many kids you have, but it's like, yes, like, thank you for understanding, that our job is thankless and it's incredibly hard, but it's also like, we're still doing our job and now doing other teachers' jobs.
Yeah, I was going to say, as someone not in the classroom anymore, I definitely thought about you guys, because when your teaching turns off, you got to teach your own kids. So you're teaching all day. It's just kids, and you're like, I don't get a break. So, but again, like I honestly, I think I said it to a few of you, like the first week, I was like, when this is over, people are going to think real differently about teachers and what we do and how much we're worth. Now, I hope people go to their local government and voice their concerns. But definitely, I think that if you are a teacher and you're having to deal with other people's children and then you have to teach your own kids, it's like exhausting. And especially like you said, you're all over the place. So you're in like preschool and then you're in like elementary and then you're in like high school, so you're like choop, 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 and your brain is, clicking to all the different wavelengths throughout the day. And then, oh yeah, you're an adult. Don't forget that too. Like throw that in there somewhere, but yeah, I definitely think that this time is challenging to deal with kids all day. You have to deal with your own and other people's kids.
And I think that's a point but we've always done that. Like, we've always done that. And people really be acting like that has not always been a consistent, okay, yeah, no, I'm with your kid for 8 hours. And then I got mine. What? Like, no break? No, nothing? No. We're just going to pretend that we don't have these lives. And it's like because like way, way back, like when you were a teacher, like you couldn't be married, couldn't have kids, all that stuff. Like it was just that's it. You were the teacher. I'm like, y'all do know we not in there no more. Like that is no longer our testimony for a lot of us. Like yes, I loved quite a few of my school children, but I still have to make sure I'm raising mine, because in the same way that I'm like, yo, I'm not really supposed to be raising you, I can't really be putting that on my child's teacher because they have kids. And it's just, it's like a never ending cycle. Go ahead, Marcina.
I was going to also say that, like, I'm in a mom's group on Facebook, and the complaints, and it's like I'm 2 different ones, and it's crazy. I'm one that's nationwide and one was local. And the local one is just complaint after complaint about the school system not doing this, or daycare providers still charging, or private sector, they're still charging for classes, and why is this? They should not charge. And I'm thinking, okay, for me, if they're providing a service, even if it's virtual, are you going to take advantage of it? Yes, because my child's in a couple of different things that they're doing live classes, and I'm chiming in, even though he pays zero attention because he's 5 and he can't. But like, I'm still chiming in just to give them that and to make sure they're afloat. And then I'm telling these parents in the groups, hey, it's not as easy as you think. We have our own kids. And they're like, well, we have jobs too. And I'm like, and I have a job which is trying to teach your child and maintain my own. And you're acting like, oh, we should just be focusing on providing instruction for your particular child and not worrying about mine. Or that's what the comment, well, that's what you signed up for. I wanted to jump through my laptop, jump through my social media, and like pull this person through and be like, excuse me? So you signed up to have all those kids. You decided to have all the children. So now you're like mad because you have to actually do the work and help your kid, and the teacher's not doing enough for them. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's just crazy how people, they are now understanding, like, education is not as simple as giving a ditto sheet and saying, here, do this. Or it's not as simple as going, here, watch this video and learn it. No, every child doesn't work that way. You're understanding now what a teacher is saying about your particular child in conferences and whatever, because now you're having to deal with it yourself.
I think that's the highlight of all of it for me, is that I was like, ooh, see, told you. Look at your child. Look at him. You did that. You put that out here. Now handle that, because that ain't my problem. My problem is the ones that I put out here, and they don't be struggling like that. So good luck, Godspeed, thoughts and prayers, be blessed, do what you do.
And the funny thing about it is,
because sis, I would have got banned. Oh, I would have got banned off of that one.
The funny thing about it is it's also teaching me a lot about my own child when he goes to school, because I'm like, sir, so this is going to be you when, like, you go, okay, well, let's try to work on this now. So when a teacher calls me, I know, yeah, it's probably accurate, because I'm having to teach him now, and I'm learning before he even gets there what it is that we have to do.
See, but there's a benefit in that you'll be able to give the teachers a heads up. You'll be like, okay, so my kid's a little wild. I'm sorry. Call me if you need to. And like, and he gets sent with a notice every year. I'm like, all right, so look, you're probably gonna call me. I'm sorry in advance. I apologize. He's a good kid though. He's just wild. But if you have his attention, he's great. He'll get the work done. I think part of the issue, what we've seen this year, is that it wasn't that he wasn't getting the work done. It was that he was done and no one else was. And so he's like, I ain't got nothing to do. I'm going to talk to you. And it's like, no. Let them work. He's like, well, I'm bored. I'm like, oh, It's like, you're going to have to find something else to do. You can't do that. And so he's disruptive and wild because he's bored. And I'm like, oh, y'all got to give him more work. I don't care if he's mad at it. Like, if you don't give him more work, he's going to do that. These are our options. I don't make him a helper or something. Give him something to do. But that kid is lit. And I've given up on saying we're going to fix it. We're not going to. He's going to be like that. Like, that's just, it's who he is. He been like that. That's all we got for him. But yeah, I think it helped that we gave them the heads up. Because when I got the first call, they're like, okay, so. And I'm like, I know. My bad. You gotta love him though. He's real cute in the face. It's all right. Like, just work with him. I'll talk to him when he gets here. Minus the punching people. That part, out of pocket. The rest of it, though, it worked out. All right, so.
Can I just chime in for a second? I think I'm really hoping that this experience for parents that I don't normally talk to or see is giving them more understanding of what is going on in the classroom and from a dance perspective. Because, sadly, on like open house nights and even with majors, these kids are like going through an application process and auditioning. You still don't see the parent. I've had parents call and be like, I want my kid out of the dance club. And I'm like, VPA program is not a dance club. It's 4 classes that affect their GPA. What are you talking about? But it's like, they're just not aware. And so I'm hoping, whether, no matter what kind of program it is, especially I would even say in a private sector where a lot of parents, have their kids in dance, don't really know what it is and what, why it's important, that it gives the parents more perspective on the rigor and the challenges and the discipline that it takes to do the arts. Because I hear a lot of parents in the background of videos and stuff, and they're the ones now videoing for their kids and helping. And I don't think I've seen most of these parents at all. And I would say in high school, it's really late to get involved with your kids, your students' education. I mean, it's never too late, but it's kind of, there's a point where you're like, you got to be involved. So I'm hoping, from K through, 8th grade, that parents are getting more involved and more hands-on, and that we'll see parents more and we'll have better conversations with them that's a little bit more informed, because that will then bleed into high school. And I think that's kind of the thing that I'm hoping for, that they have a greater understanding of what it is that we do and why it's important that they are involved and that they know how to support their student outside of school.
Because I would say, I would hope that they keep the same energy. Be like, okay, if you are now involved, like you're asking questions, you're having dialogue with your child and learning more about what it is that they're doing and what they're interested in, keep that energy when we go back. Don't say, oh, okay, well, see, that was only because I was with you all the time. Like, no, stay invested the remainder of their life. Can we make that be a shift? That is something I would genuinely love to see, and I think will be beneficial for everyone, particularly the children. But, ooh, child, some of them be tripping. I'm still saying that that's the mentality that they think is a dance club, because I was like, but this is entirely on this report card. It's hitting their GPA up. Like, your kid just dropped like a point. Like, just so you know, you're at a 2 something now off of this. This is not a club. Clubs don't do that to you. But it's neither here nor there. We'll have that talk again at some other point, because you know how I feel about it. So We have reached everyone's favorite portion of the show. I hate y'all so much. Y'all ain't gotta be like that. So, ultimate dance trio. So, I think it's an easy-ish question. So, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would offer to a fellow dance mom? And it can be someone who already has kids or they're planning on growing their family. But a dance professional, private sector, public, higher ed, doesn't matter. But what would be 3 pieces of advice that you would offer?
I'll go. So, okay, that makes me feel better. I thought it was going to be the people again. So I was like, oh my God, who did I say the last time? Okay. I was like, okay. So the first thing I would say is to see if the child really wants to do it. And I say that as somebody pre-having children. I was like, yeah, I have to have a daughter because she's going to dance and you know. And then I worked at a bunch of studios where I saw enough kids who either just as regular kids didn't want to do it, or even as like the studio owners' kids, they were kind of like, yeah, this is not, you know, they might have been into something else or just didn't like dance. And so I'm a big advocate of do not push kids to dance if they really don't want to dance. Everybody does not like dance, and that is totally fine, you know. So see what your child really wants to do. That's number 1. Number 2, I would say pay attention to detail. As the person who's been on that other end, you know, crafting these emails and these newsletters and these, you know, all of this information that we're handing out because we want everyone to be prepared. Definitely just paying attention to detail and reading. And the third thing I would say is just to be supportive, you know, of however the child wants to pursue dance. You know, what are they interested in? What genres? What, you know, styles? What kind of performing, you know, really see like what the child is interested in as opposed to completely creating, taking all the control of what classes they're going to take, what days they're going to go, how long they're going to, you know, try to let them have some input of what they're actually interested in doing. And I'll just share a funny story and then I'll move on. I said that to somebody who was like, they had a child who was like 5 and she's like, she doesn't know what she wants to do. And I'm like, yes, she does. You know, like we at a very early age, even as babies, you know, can start to be clear on like, I like that or I don't like that, you know, or I'm interested or I'm not interested. So that doesn't really have like an age limit on it. It's not like, oh, when they get 13, I'll let them, you know, they can tell you at 5, 6, 7, 4, you know, like it's not really for me. So yeah, those would be my 3 advice. Me and my giraffe.
I think I would say to someone, oh Lord, don't went out my head. Come back to me.
We'll come back to you.
So I'm going to speak on it from a mom having to be a dance educator. My 3 would be use a planner. They're important. Trying to plan your personal life and your professional life, you need to have a planner. It's okay if you have to take that baby up to the studio with you sometimes. That's my second one. Be okay with it. Don't apologize for having a child. Like you can't say, oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Like clearly my kid's been in the camera 3-4 times. Like he's been here. And I'm like, okay, notice I didn't apologize for it. And I guess my third one, find time for yourself as well. But don't forget that you have to balance you as well as being an educator and a parent.
I got everybody said what I was going to say. So good job, guys.
Yes, that's why I had to go. Like I only got more ideas in my head.
So I would say I agree. I think organization and having a planner is like my planner is color coded. It looks insane, but everybody can read it. They know what color they are. They know when they're supposed to be where. And so I think organization and planning is number 1. Taking a breath for yourself. Like that, I know that's a hard thing for me to do because I will literally give and give and give and give and give and give and give until I'm exhausted and sick. And then I'm like, okay, I still got to give. I think breathing and self-care are something I'm still struggling with and learning how to do. But I also realized in the last like 3 years, like how important it is and how it allows you to really think every single decision through a little bit better because you're more balanced. And I agree with Jen. Like Tony did ballet at NYB because I love NYB. So kudos. um, and she loved her class and she was just like, Mom, I don't like ballet. And I was like, okay. And so, she's in Taekwondo now and loves it and is doing her online classes. And we're supporting that business because I don't want it to go away because that's a passion for her. So I think, as much as we love dance and different art forms, you have to realize that not everybody does. And again, agreeing with Jen, like that's okay. Because if nothing else, they'll appreciate it. They might be an audience member. You can't think of everything as like performance and choreography. Like just by exposing them to the arts, you've created a future audience member, and that's really important. So those are my three.
All right, so I don't remember what it was I was originally going to say. So we're just going to take it another direction now. So as a dance mom who's also a mother, and having had all four of them to class at some point, the youngest one, Zaina, she's just like, nah, not having it. And, it was heartbreaking. I will admit it did hurt a little bit. Even trying to get her, it's like, okay, you don't have to take ballet because to be honest, she wasn't really good at it. So that was actually okay. But like she didn't want to do the African dance. I'm like, really, you didn't want to do that? And so I mean, like that hurt a little bit. But like with Osaze, he's 16 now, full scholarship to Cincinnati Ballet, he got full scholarship to Houston, and like he has his talent, but he just gets in his head so much. And so it's like trying to find that balance of, you want to be supportive as a parent, but then, that dance teacher side of you also is like, but this is what you're able to do with just a little bit of extra effort. And, we live in a society where everything has to be instant and everything should come easy. And it's like, no, sometimes you do actually have to work for things. And in the end, it makes you a better person. So yeah, you don't want to push them, but you want to give them enough of a nudge in the right direction when they're on that right track. Because I know, I had a little hiccup early on in my life because my mom didn't push me. She was like, that's what you want to do? Okay. And so I'm like, so these last 18 years don't count for nothing? Like we should have had that conversation. But then also another thing as a dance teacher, I find that I try to give them space to make mistakes and to be their own kind of dancer. Yes, should you fix your hip and put your hip down when you're doing that double pate? Yeah, but unless it's like just something that's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna hurt yourself. I try to give them that space back, and I'm not that mom that is there looking in on every class. Even though out of anybody, any of our parents, I have the most access. Like because I could walk in a class if I wanted to and sit right there and watch the whole class, and no one would say anything. But I don't do that. Most times, I don't even watch. And even when it's Parents' Day, sometimes. Not because I don't want to, but usually because I get stuck in the office doing something else for some other parent. But I think that has allowed them to kind of grow into their own kind of person. And like with Sade, my thing with her was always, I want you to take more risk. But I gave her the opportunity to go and take that risk without pushing her through it, if that makes sense. Because she was under the impression like she absolutely had to go to college. And yeah, for some people that's the track you have to do. But I was like, you know what? I'm still paying on my student loans. So go out there and find a program that works for you. And so she ended up going out to Lines, and that was the absolute best thing for her. And I mean, and she has grown leaps and bounds above, I think, any other program that I could have pigeonholed her into. But by giving her that freedom to kind of explore and find herself, it's been good. So as a mom and a dance mom who's a dance teacher, you have to be able to give your child, as well as anyone's child, that ability to kind of grow and find themselves. Was that 3?
Yeah, I think that was.
Okay.
I was like, did you get all of them? I agree with all the advice that was given. I, in particular, like the idea of if they don't want to do dance, it's okay. Similar to you, Pasha, I was in my feelings when my child decided to not major in dance. I was like, you really just gonna, like, we did all that for what? Like, what you mean you're not gonna, no? You sure? Maybe later? And she's like, nah, like we're off that. So she's still in classes currently. That's a whole another conversation that has now come up this year. But the pushing without overstepping is how I would say it. Like, for example, I have said to both of those two of mine that dance, but you gonna tap though. Number one, I bought them shoes. Good tap shoes. Shoes were expensive. You gonna tap. And they are both, like, when I watch them tap, they never believe me because I'm mom and, like, mom is supposed to say this. But I'm like, nah, y'all. I was, like, taking personal out of it as a dance teacher and as a dancer. Watching y'all tap, I'd be like, God damn, like, can I be like that? Can I be able to do that? Leaps and bounds ahead of anywhere I've ever been with it. And I wasn't horrible at tap. But when I tell you, them some tapping kids, I was like, oh, so now y'all don't do that though. Like, I don't care what else you do with your life. This you're keeping. And so that's the only one that I am, quote unquote, forcing upon them, of which they both enjoy it. But it was just like, I was like, no, I can't let you not do this. This has to happen. But if you are like, I'm off of ballet, I'm off of jazz, I'm off of all of this, I will take the L. I'll just go cry in a corner somewhere. But tap, I had to push that one because especially the princess. Oh my gosh, she is. I gotta show y'all one of the more recent videos. Like every time I watch her, I'm just like, I'm ignoring everyone. I can't ever watch the whole dance. I'm just looking at my child, and it's not even that. Oh, my child is like perfect. I'm like, no, she's good. And no shade to the other one, but I mean, she been at it longer than him. She better.
They both are wonderfully talented children and dancers.
Thank you. I will be sure to tell them you said that shit. Miss Alexander said to tell you. But yeah, it's just wild seeing what they can do, but they do need that space to make their own choices. Because it wouldn't be fair because I have no right to try to live my life through them. I'm like, I do this enough. I love it enough for me. I can't make them love it. Now, if they do, they want to join on in on the party, yes, come. But it's not fair for me to say, well, because this is what I do, you should do it. Because I wasn't completely pushed in that direction, but there were things that it was a very clear, well, no, you're going to do this. And I'm like, but I don't like this. Like, this isn't what I want. But that was the expectation. So just not making them go through that. And also I've had more than enough students who couldn't think for themselves and couldn't make decisions. And I'm like, what you going to do in college? Because you do know that's on you at that point. Like the expectation is that you can. And so instilling that early on, I think will set all of our kids up for later to be able to really think through, like, okay, is this something I really want to do? Is this a decision I want to make? Okay, do I know how to weigh the pros and cons and make the decision I feel is right? So, yay. All right, well, my lovely, lovely people, thank you again for coming on out on this here Zoom call because clearly you ain't at my house because Jen is on a safari. Sis, I'm not letting it go. Even this giraffe. If people are listening to this,
name my giraffe so I can, in honor of this episode, if you like. If we all want to come up with a collective name, it's a boy, okay, because he doesn't have pom-poms. So if you guys would like to name him like Capizio in honor of this episode, or like Blanc Give me block.
So we have Jen.
Who's the maker of those expensive tap shoes that we were talking about? Maybe we can give that a dedication.
Oh my God.
It would be Leo.
Leo the giraffe.
Meet Leo the giraffe. His name is Leo Block. He's
oh my God. Yes, Leo Block.
He's mixed race of dance shoes. Leo Block.
No good sense. So, to everyone out there, thank you again for watching another episode of Dance Talk Realness. Be sure to follow, comment, subscribe, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Drop questions. I'll answer whatever I can. If you have any questions for any of my guests, I'll be sure to pass them on and make sure that I address them at a later time. There will never be Twitter, so there's that, because technology, I'm not here for it. If you have any specific requests, also drop those. It'd be best to drop those either under the YouTube video or on Instagram. I'm way more likely to see them in those two places. And I will do my best to keep bringing you fresh content. So, see you guys next time. Bye.